Alright, so about a year ago, I was thinking of like reviewing a bunch of Saturn games. I was pretty much going to try and review every Saturn game that I own, but that's fucking stupid. That's going to take way too long. I don't think anyone would want to watch something like that. So basically, just making this to use the footage because I shot like probably about 5 hours of footage of different Saturn games. Probably more than 5 hours, and all that footage has long since gone. So I'm basically just making this to use the leftovers of like the 30 minutes that are left of that footage. So this video is pretty much just like this. I'm just doing this to recycle, basically. So I mean, pay this no fucking attention for all I care. But yeah, so I'm just gonna talk about some Saturn games I think are pretty cool right now, because there's a lot of them. There's a lot of cool Saturn games, and I'm a big Saturn guy. What can I say? I guess the natural start point would be Virtua Fighter 2, because that's probably the first game. I'm sure most people's first Saturn game is probably Virtua Fighter 2. It's definitely the most common and cheap game on the console, which is kind of amazing, because for most consoles that'll mean something like Rage or FIFA 09, but no, Saturn's most common game is Virtua Fighter 2, which is pretty bloody cool. And honestly, I don't think Virtua Fighter 2 really gets enough credit. You gotta remember that Virtua Fighter 2 came out, what was it, 95? For 95, these character models and just how smooth it plays, like it would be until like Tekken 3 before you really get something like this. So yeah, I mean it's a very simple fighting game, but like I love its visuals. It's really good. It just has the atmosphere of an arcade game. Like you just play it and it feels like you're just standing in an arcade. A lot of Saturn games have that feel. Like they really do just capture the vibe of being in an arcade. God, I hate the word vibe. I hate using that word, but it's a very easy word to use when you're talking about Saturn games, I think. So yeah, it's obviously like a slightly clunky fighting game, you could say. This is Virtua Fighter 1 here, which is pretty much most of the same, except it's even clunkier and even sort of more simplistic. And obviously the character models don't look as nice as well, but I'd pretty much just categorize them as like, I'd pretty much just put them together. Like if you want to play one, if you just want to play like a simple fighting game, you just want like a quick hit or something, it's very fun, very satisfying, very arcadey, they're both good choices really. Obviously Virtua Fighter 1 I think is a little less common than 2, so you might as well go for 2 as far as I can see. But yeah, they're both satisfying fighting games. Other arcade ports of Virtua Fighter 2 are very good. They're very close to what you'd expect. I mean, Virtua Fighter is just Virtua Cop. I'm sorry, I'm getting the name mixed up. It's been a good while since I played it. Yeah, Virtua Cop is just like a light thing, and I was very lucky to have not a Saturn only light gun, a Saturn and PS1 sort of dual. It's got the 2 cables plugging to either. But yeah, honestly, this game is really fun. I'd say it's probably I prefer it to Virtua Fighter, just mostly because I like light-gun shooters and on-rail shooters and the like. And really, this is a very fun game. I mean, visually, there's a lot going on. The way it sort of telegraphs when you're meant to shoot is very nice as well. The way those targets, the crosshairs sort of form over your targets, and it's a very visceral game. It's much more, you just see the footage and it kind of speaks for itself, so I'm not really sure what I should be saying for this, but I mean, looking at it, it actually looks really good for Saturn, and like the 3D, there's a lot of 3D going on here, so it's a very fun game. Yeah, what we've got here is it's just Fighters Mega Mix, which is like the old Sega crossover fighter between like mostly fighting Vipers and Virtua Fighter. This is very good. I've definitely not played it as much as Virtua, Virtua Fighter because I have an import, but also a very good fighting game. And yeah, Magic Knight Rare, this honestly is probably one of the best games that I played on the console, I think. Probably my second favourite game actually on Saturn. I don't know why I decided to recycle this footage because it's just the OP, but I mean it's a pretty great OP. So yeah, I actually ended up watching the anime after this because I just really loved the game. The story's pretty good. The dialogue, it's more sort of like the dialogue's enjoyable as opposed to the story is really. The story only really gets terribly engaging once you get like sort of towards the end. It's basically just to describe the gameplay. I don't know if we're going to have much footage of it here, but it's basically just like imagine Zelda, but the dungeons are much more linear and much more action focused. So for me, that makes it a lot more fun than most Zelda games. So honestly, yeah, I love Magic Knight Rare. Imagine, yeah, like more sort of gameplay, more sort of combat focused Zelda in a JRPG setting. That's kind of what it is. I mean, the character art is gorgeous as well. It's very if you like the 90s anime aesthetic, you know, this game's gonna be a treat because all the character designs are gorgeous, and I'm pretty sure this is a Clamp series. So you know, I do like my Clamp, honestly. Clamp's character designs are always really fucking nice. So definitely something worth playing if you, I don't know, if this looks like something you'd enjoy, I pretty much guarantee you it is, because visually this game looks gorgeous, as you can probably tell. Well, you probably can't. It probably looks better when you're not watching it through a fucking phone recording off of a CRT, but when you're actually there, this game looks gorgeous. Absolutely worth playing, I think. And then here is my favourite Saturn game. I feel like that's probably quite a universal opinion. It's Panzer Dragoon Saga. If you don't recognise the intro, this intro is amazing, and I don't even think I have time here to tell you how good Panzer Dragoon Saga is. This is the kind of game that's like, it's almost otherworldly. Like it's a masterpiece. I'm going to talk about it later probably, but very sudden tonal change to Daytona USA, which is just like it's just like a fun arcade racer. It's pretty good. It's quite hard, but I realise that's mostly just on account of me generally being pretty shit at racing games. I mean, really, it's very fast paced. Like, it's very cathartic in a way, this game. There's destruction physics as well, so pretty impressive. Good arcade racing game. And Nights into Dreams, as you can probably tell, this is probably the most iconic Saturn game, definitely. Pretty much the mascot game for the Saturn, if you could call it that. It's very good fun. I didn't actually have the Saturn 3D controller when I first played Nights, so playing it with the Saturn, because the Saturn controller has such a good D-pad, it kind of doesn't really matter, but definitely I got like a Saturn 3D controller like only a week ago, and it's already, I can just tell how much easier it is for games like Nights. So Nights is great fun though. It's probably going to crop up later, so this is footage from Panzer Dragoon. Not Panzer Dragoon Saga, just the first one. And again, whereas Saga is like this insane fusion of like on-rails shooter elements and turn-based RPG, Panzer Dragoon 1 and 2 are just straight up just fucking amazing on-rails shooters. Great atmosphere, great music. Yeah, their gameplay is just, because the way the music blends in with like the motion of all the things moving around on screen, the way that you have full like, it's a on-rails shooter that you can look in all directions, and that just, it's such a visceral game because of that. Like, just the way it's hypnotic. Playing Panzer Dragoon Saga is like it's a game that you partially experience as well, because it's just so visually stimulating, and it's just such an impressive game. Oh, and this is Pandemonium. Yeah, it's not. This was also on PlayStation, I think. It's a sort of a 2.5D. It's not Panzer Dragoon, I'll tell you that. Yeah, so I guess I'll just talk about Panzer Dragoon again. The lock-on mechanic's really good. You probably saw it there. It's just you lock on, you just hold down the button, then you release it, and everything in that range is done. Yeah, I'd honestly consider Panzer Dragoon to be like the ultimate
sort of the final evolution of like all the on-rails shooters and arcade games like that, the shmups that Sega made. It really feels like the pinnacle of all of Sega's on-rails shooters. Oh, of course, Sonic Jam. Can't have Sega Saturn without Sonic Jam. I mean, this hub world, it looks... I'm always impressed whenever I see this, because it just looks amazing. It also just really fucking depresses me, because we didn't get an actual full game that looks like this. But yeah, I mean, Sonic Jam is just the compilation of Sonics 1, 2, and 3. You already know what Sonic Jam is, but, you know, Sonic Jam's good, and Sega Rally's pretty good as well. This is more like a much more realistic than Daytona. The cars obviously don't go as fast, and you have more of a sort of... They feel much more weighty, which means that I'm even worse at it than I am at Daytona. But, you know, it's still a fun game. I like its visuals a lot, and its music's pretty good. Yeah, like the use of color is just really nice. Like, look at that like purple sky, it's gorgeous. So yeah, it's a cheap game, but it's definitely worth picking up because it's just like a chill racing sim. What is this? This is Shockwave Assault, I want to say. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is called Shockwave Assault. This is a port of a 3DO game, which is why it has that weird, very 3DO looking FMV. And this is a very basic game. It's basically just, it's not like a on-rails shooter, which is what it looks like, and that's what I was hoping it is. It's more like, you know, like in Star Fox 64 when you have the sections where you control Star Fox in full 3D. It's like that, but a whole game, and it's pretty boring, and it's not even any music or anything, but there's something weirdly quite interesting about it. Maybe just because it's a 3DO game. This isn't footage from that, this is footage from Darklight Conflict currently. This was also on PC. You'll find a lot of Saturn games were also PC ports, which is quite cool. So the Saturn kind of has a lot of indie stuff. For, you know, indie for the time being stuff that was on PC. I mean, that's Darklight Conflict is literally just like a 3D space shooter. It's nothing very special in my opinion, but it's good for what it is, I suppose. It'll have its fans definitely. And this is footage from Blam Machine Head, I want to say. It has a weird name. It's Blam Machine Head, also a PC port. It's by I think it's published by Eidos. Or however you pronounce that name, the Tomb Raider publishers. And this is like I mean, the footage kind of speaks for itself. It's a kind of janky. I'm sure it wouldn't have been as janky on PC, just because there's a lot of 3D. It's like a first-person mech. It's quite it's a genre ambiguous, I would say. There's exploration. You shoot things, you collect keys, you explore. It's not really something I was too into. It just like there's really too many controls for the Saturn D-pad. Like they're having to look up to like face buttons. So it's just generally a bit of an awkward game to play. But it has its charm in the sense that it's like an old PC port fitted onto console, so you know, for what it is, it's alright, but it's just not really for me. I still like it though, in its ways. It's still interesting, similar to this, which is Crusader No Remorse. This is another PC port. This is like as you can see, it's isometric, sprite based, it's 2D. It's like a fusion of like action, stealth, again kind of genre ambiguous, as if genres are actually very fucking useful in the first place. The controls are a little awkward because you've got to you have a button that moves you forward and you kind of steer your character. This would have been a game that would have definitely been pretty good on PC. I feel like converting it to Saturn just doesn't like work too well, but it's still cool to see lots of like smaller PC games have a dedicated console. You know, it's not really much I can say about that game. But I'm probably just going to talk about it while this football footage is over, because I have less to say about football. I mean, this is a Saturn football game. I mean, it looks pretty good, and if you want a football game, it'll probably do. But I don't fucking know about football. All right. So Crusader No Remorse. Yes. Cover art's got like a weird red stormtrooper ass looking guy on it, and yeah, I mean, it's alright. It's very basic gameplay. This is, oh my god, why do I have so much footage left over of Blam Machine Head? I give like fucking 30 seconds to Knights about, no, this isn't Blam Machine Head, this is Tunnel B1, pardon me. Very different games, I know, very important. Tunnel B1, this is like Blam Machine Head, but take the level design out and just give you a corridor and things to shoot. It's very basic. Kind of controls pretty crappy, and this was also on PS1. Most people probably know this is a PS1 game because it's definitely a bargain bin PS1 game. It's alright, I guess. I mean, I like it more than Blam Machine Head just because these sections where you're moving fast and steering, it's actually quite fun because it's in first person and it's visually quite, watching this footage back right now, it looks really good, but the gameplay is practically non-existent. And this is Blackfire. Oh god, Blackfire. This is another one that I did not like. This is a helicopter. It's kind of like a helicopter combat. It's probably going for realism as much as you could on a home console in '96 or whenever this came out. This game to me is hilarious and I love it because I just don't know what's going on. It's just like it's just like the most incomprehensible shit I've ever played. I have no idea. I have no idea what the controls are. I don't have time to work them out because I just get attacked and I can't get past mission 1. I can't even make an attempt to get past the first mission. This game just confuses me and it looks like, look at that ground texture. I mean, it's impressive that there's a lot of it rendered in at once, but god damn yeah, this game is, I'm sure there are people that like it and I'm glad there are because it's just, to me, I like how my footage of Winter Heat starts with me just failing, just me being impatient, because that's quite, I think that's quite accurate. Yeah, Winter Heat, this is just like a bunch of sports mini games. I love this. I love this kind of shit because it's kind of like Wii. If you like Wii Sports, imagine that, but it's like an arcade version of Wii Sports. It's very simple. It's really just tapping buttons and timing and using the D-pad. So it's very, you can just pick this up and play it anytime. And Decathlete, this is Decathlete, which pretty much is the same thing. Pretty much like this Winter Heat was the sequel, the sort of winter sports themed one. And I love these games. These games, they're just fun little minigame compilations. They're just very arcadey. They have a nice feel to them. You can just pop them in, play them. They'll only take you 20 minutes to beat the main mode. And then you get like a nice credits roll with some pretty great music. This just feels like, it feels like a Sega game. Just like, I love the feel of Sega's arcade output, and this is just, it's a good game. It's very funny, very sudden cut to Bug, because I don't think you can easily transition into Bug, generally speaking. Bug's also quite a famous Saturn game nowadays, which is quite weird. I guess it's because there wasn't many platformers on Saturn when it first came out, so this was kind of one of the earliest ones. It looks like it's 3D and you can go anywhere, but you can. You're restricted very much to the grid that you're on. So it's, I guess you'd call it a 2.5D platformer, but I just call it Bug because it's Bug, and that's what it is. It's all right. It's very basic. You just move, you just jump. There's nothing more to it than that. You know, it's quite hard because it's very slow paced, and you have to be very precise. Like the enemies, their timing on the enemies can be kind of awkward sometimes, but for what it is, it's fairly fun. The sequel is mostly more of the same, except for some reason Bug himself, he's meant to be like a Hollywood actor, and in the first game there's just like a stupid, worthless like background plot point, whereas in Bug 2, this one, at least they like theme the levels after like movie sets and like film genres, kind of like Gex style. So, you know, Bug is a very simple platformer, but for what it is, it's very fun and it has a lot of charm. So I definitely recommend it if you can get into it. Bug is also, I'm pretty sure the first Bug at least is on PC. And again, these games, Bug is very simplistic. There are definitely better platformers on Saturn, but for what it is, it's enjoyable, and you know, I think it's got its charm. Alright, this should also be more footage from Fighters. Okay, no, it's not, it's Bug. Oh, no, it's still Bug 2. Alright, why did I think this was okay? So I don't know what else I can say about Bug. Oh, thank God there's pinball. Oh god, man. Thank God for pinball. Yeah, this is digital pinball. It's just a pinball game on Saturn. What can I say? It's pretty good. It's quite quite a realistic feeling pinball game, not really like an arcadey pinball. It's quite realistic, kind of challenging actually. You got to be really quite fast with how realistic pinball games usually work. What I love about digital pinball though is that you look at the intro for this game goes hard. Like the intro cinematic did not need to be this good. It's like it's not actually that good. It's just like a bunch of guys dressed as Conan. There's like some dramatic camera pans over these men and just some intense guitar riffs playing. It's just such a weird opening, but I guess it kind of fits a pinball game. I don't know. That was digital, but this is true pinball. Pardon me, can't go getting my Saturn pinball games mixed up. No way. And this is much more arcadey. It's definitely more fun. The boards are very diverse, whereas in digital pinball they're all a little bit similar, and they all have like a war theme. Like you have like samurai table, the pirate table. It's not really a war theme, but they're going for like I'm a cool guy and I only play pirate themed pinball. Except true pinball also has pirate themed pinball, I think, and it's way better. And they also no, I might be mistaken. I think this game has Viking pinball, and the music is fucking amazing. But yeah, they're both pinball games. They're both good. True pinball I liked more because it's more arcadey and the boards look nicer. They got more to them. But on that note, this is a game called Robotica, which is, as you can see, a very empty first-person shooter. I think this was very early, and this was a very early Saturn game. This was like 95, so for 95, I mean, this is impressive. Don't get me wrong, but even in 95, like in 95, I don't think anyone was really going to go too nuts for Robotica. Like even just looking at this footage, you're not seeing any enemies, so it's a very empty FPS with sort of a lot of backtracking, sort of keycard management. It's not for me, but you know, FPSs can still be satisfying even if they're mindless. You just got to be in the mood for them. I think this is Albert Odyssey. What's just come up here? Albert Odyssey. I don't know why it's called Albert Odyssey. I guess the main character's name is Albert, even though you can just fucking call him whatever you want, so it doesn't matter. It's just it's a nice JRPG. Very basic battle system, which I don't really have much patience for in these days, I'm afraid. But visually it's lovely. The music's really nice. It has that just like Super Nintendo era RPG charm to it. I don't know why I needed to specify JRPG. You probably figured it was a JRPG specifically. But yeah, visually it's nice. Gameplay is a little too basic. I've realized I like tactical RPGs infinitely more than standard turn-based stuff. But you know, this game's nice. It's very basic. You know what you're getting with it, so I'll give it that. But weirdly, I'm pretty sure this is the game I'm thinking of. The dialogue got localized really weirdly. Like they have a lot of humor in this game that feels really out of place. Like a lot of crude humor and kind of dirty jokes. So haha. Usually I'd be okay with that, but in this game, it just kind of comes across as the game's a bit of an asshole. So I don't know why they decided to localize it like that. And just, I guess, the two guys who were in charge of translating the game just thought, fuck it, we're not getting paid enough for this. Let's just have fun. So, but Shining Force 3 here. This is definitely much better. JRPG. Shining Force being pretty much Sega's main JRPG franchise, I suppose. I've had a few, but this was probably one. No, Phantasy Star would probably be their main one actually, but this was like their main fantasy styled one. Visually, this game's lovely. It's got nice music, I guess. It's very simple. It's, you know, I just describe it as a JRPG, and you'll already understand pretty much what it plays like and what it is. The combat's nothing terribly out of the ordinary. It plays okay. It looks nice. I'm pretty sure Shining Force 3, because there's Shining Force 3 and Shining the Holy Ark. Okay, this is Shining the Holy Ark, I'm pretty sure. This is like a Shining Force game, but it's tactical RPG. So instantly, gameplay wise, I love this. The story to this game seems to be like about countries warring, and you're like a soldier caught in the middle of it, and generally I don't really give a shit about plots like that are kind of political focused, but I'm sure there are people that like that, so fair enough. And visually this game's nice. I didn't really play all that much of it because I kind of just found the story to be a little boring, and as much as I love tactical RPGs, this one is a little slow. But you know, gameplay wise it's a tactical RPG and I love it. The town I explored was very cozy, so pretty good game. And here's Battle Monsters. Yeah, this is a shitty Mortal Kombat ripoff with a bunch of shitty looking monsters. Like, you got Frankenstein fighting, like, I don't know what he's meant to be. I don't know what any of the characters are meant to be. This is such a janky ass fighting game. You can just tell it's good going for the Mortal Kombat clone route. I actually played this with a person. I actually played this with a friend in person. Truly one of the gaming experiences of my life. That was quite an honor. Thank you very much to my friend who put up with this fucking game. But that's the magic with bad fighting games, right? I'm a very salty, bitter person in real life, so you know, fighting games aren't really great for me as much as I love their gameplay. But with a bad fighting game, it's like you can't really get angry because who won? Who really won? You know, because the game's fucked anyway, so it doesn't matter who wins. It's just dumb fun at that point, and I love bad fighting games, man. Battle Monsters is great. If you can play Battle Monsters on Saturn, I would highly recommend it. It's I mean, just look at it. There's nothing going on. There's like no action going on at all, and the best strategy is just to mash like the leg attacks. Like just crouch down and go for the fucking shins. But you know, I love it. It's a jank fighting game, so of course. This is Shining Wisdom. This was the third Shining Force game, but this one's very different. This one, as you can see, is it's a Zelda-like top-down adventure. This one I actually only played for like fucking 10 minutes. I don't know why I even bothered trying to review it, honestly. Not that reviewing is really much help when all you have is 10 minutes of experience, so maybe reviewing games generally just isn't for me. But yeah, Shining Wisdom, it's, you know, kind of JRPG Zelda style adventure game, pretty good. I'd suppose, I don't know, it seemed really good from what little I played of it anyway. And this is Shinobi X. I'm just letting the intro play, I guess, because I guess it's a pretty cool intro. So yeah, you know Shinobi, I'm sure. That's I fucking love Shinobi. Shinobi 3, easily one of the best Mega Drive games. The combat, the gameplay, it just fucking goes so hard. It's a very good game. I think Shinobi X uses like digitized actors, which kind of gives its visuals a unique style. So it's like you're controlling like Mortal Kombat-esque looking digitized actors on these really nice backgrounds. Like, this game looks really cool. I have not played terribly much of it, but this is absolutely a Saturn game I want to sit down and I want to blaze through one day, because I love Shinobi. This one visually looks really interesting. Good game. This is Shining Force 3. Okay, pardon me. Earlier on was footage from Shining the Holy Ark. This is the one I was talking about that is more like a standard RPG. Holy Ark is the one that is a tactical RPG and has the political themed story. This one is much more traditional fantasy setting, JRPG storyline. The cutscenes are quite interesting because the cutscenes you'll see, they're sort of like in a first person, like your characters moving their head around, and so it's sort of like the game's story transpires in first person, which the dungeons are in first person. If you can imagine like a Megami Tensei style dungeon crawling, that's pretty much it. But the cutscenes also mostly play out in real time in this first person view as well, so they have a very interesting visual style that I've not really seen before. And this opening is genuinely really good. Like, the setup for the story is quite interesting. Excuse me. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's a fantasy JRPG from the 90s. You can look at the footage and you get a good idea of what it is. So yeah. And this is Pandemonium again. It came up earlier, the intro came up for earlier, but here's the actual game finally. And this is, as you can see, 2.5D again, and the visuals are very nice, honestly. This game is very bouncy. It controls very bouncy. The gameplay and level design is very bouncy, but it's fucking hard. It's surprisingly a very hard game, and it's also on PlayStation 1, and it's weirdly sort of the same price on each console, so I guess you might as well get the Saturn version if it interests you. But I mean, or just burn the game to a disc like a sane man would. So just do it that way. I'm talking over House of the Dead footage. I know this is House of the Dead, but there's not really much to say about House of the Dead. It's House of the Dead, man. It's freaking cool. I didn't play much of this one, but I mean, I love House of the Dead. I adore light gun shooters, you know, and it's a great one. It's a classic. I actually remember playing House of the Dead, the actual arcade unit, in a holiday, like a holiday resort in their arcade. I would play it all the time. So it's very funny to actually have that on console now and have a physical means of playing it at home. Great game, yeah, classic. And this is Dark Savior? Yeah, Dark Savior, that's his name. It's another isometric puzzle platformer, I'd say. This one's weird because it seems to have a lot of combat as well. Again, I'm afraid to say it, I really did not play much of this one, but for what it is, it seems very cool. I wish I had more insightful commentary, sorry, but like I say, there's not too much to this one, on account of the fact that I didn't play any of it realistically. But it looks cool. Visually I like it. I'd probably enjoy it if I played it. This is Deep Fear. I'm sorry, it's probably quite obvious I'm very tired while recording this, but this is Deep Fear. As you can probably assume by the look of it, it is a survival horror, and it controls really well thanks to the Saturn. Unlike the PlayStation 1, it actually has a good D-pad. This is just like, imagine like survival horror, but it's on a submarine. It's pretty cool setup, nice atmosphere, looks cool. The voice acting is kind of janky. It's got sort of all the charm and sort of scuffiness that you'd expect from like an old survival horror game. And really not much else I can say on account of just I didn't play much of this one either, I'm afraid, but it definitely looked like a good play. It definitely looked like something you'd get into if you gave it the time. But okay, more Shinobi X footage. Okay, well, I guess I'll take the time to say the tank controls, like in this and in the first Resident Evil, tank controls in general I don't have a problem with. I'm gonna say that the only reason people don't like it is because the PS1's D-pad is fucking atrocious. That thing is stiff and rubbery, and just PS1 controller fucking sucks, man. And this is this is Hanagumi Taisen Columns, which is Sakura Wars. If you know what Sakura Wars is, it's the Columns game that was made to tie into Sakura Wars. It's Columns. I fucking love Columns. Columns over Tetris for life, baby. Hell yeah. And this is just Columns, but it's Sakura Wars themed. I really want to play Sakura Wars sometimes. I have the English translation burnt. I really want to play it. I'm a big fan of social JRPGs, Persona stuff, tactical JRPGs. So Sakura Wars seems right up my street. So Sakura Wars, I mean, it's Columns with anime girls, so I mean, surely that's got very broad appeal to many people. And might be the last game I have footage of. This is Virtual On, which again, another fighting game, another sick arcade port. It's a mech fighting game. I don't think I need to say anything else. That's just fucking cool. And it's interesting because you have a lot of like long range attacks and a lot of homing in on the enemy. So as far as fighting games go, it's a lot of movement, which is very fun. Makes it sort of more interesting than your average fighting game. And why I'm ending on a football game, I do not understand. But oh no, sorry, I'm ending on. Of course I'm ending on Tunnel B1. You can't not end on Tunnel B1, am I right? Oh, so yeah, I don't know why I did this. Like I say, I just had footage left over I had no other use for, so I'm just putting this footage to use, honestly. All of these games I'm very glad I got to play. I love the Saturn. Anything I play on Saturn I'll have fun with. It's a great console. So yeah, I'm basically just rambling at this point, so if you watch this dog shit, thanks I guess, but I'm also very sorry to have wasted your time, so thank you, and I don't know, I'll see you somewhere. Have a nice one.